We need a broad cultural lightning stroke of understanding, which art can provide. So what this is this is the result of the hypothesis that language can actually take us to one center right here, like a logic set theory, okay? This is not to confuse things. This is in order to generate a center of understanding. Okay, so what I had here was understanding art and education. We look at what understanding is. We look at what art is. We look at what education is. When I was 21, I decided I wanted to have substance in the work, in the mediums. So this stuff starts as an idea, and that's how I'll be illustrating the world of ideas. This is like a tool for use for the mind. Okay? It spells philosophy. And let me tell you folks, science is but a child to philosophy. Okay? Philosophy is the mother of science. That's the bottom line. How does this work? This is what we use. This is like open. This is the zetetic. It's asking openly. And then you rule as to meaning. We try to pin things down, right? We try to pin down meanings, unless we're not trying to.
We're sitting here alone in this room. No one even knows what we are, what we are, what we are, who we are, who we are, who we are. Sometimes I wonder if we know ourselves. Ladies and gentlemen.
And that's what I tell myself. I say, not a chump, a champ. How am I going to do this? I'm going to keep the faith, folks. I'm going to keep the faith. I'm going to move out of here to the street. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. But I'm going to make it through that, and then I will come back with this. Everybody loves the homeless hero.
Oh, yeah.
Ow. Meow. I've been thinking about education like for a long time. And I have 14 years of notes around understanding art and education. I felt I was not going to have this opportunity to pull it together again if I didn't get it done. So I took my life, okay? So I'm going to be drawing out my ideas to the table. I'm going to be showing in everything the what, the why, the how. Everything is resolved in language, symbol, art. Everything that regards meaning, okay? Okay, I got 30 plus years exploring the mind. I have developed art and education understood. I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you why. And I'll tell you how. This is the structure of inquiry, folks. This is part of the education, is learning that there is a formal structure to everything. What, why, how? None of the questions you ask are outside of this scope. You know, questions of when and where, space and time are secondary. These are the primary. That's why they're in primary colors. Okay? So there's two parts of this program. I've got the riddle of art and the problem of education. What is education? Now we apply these same questions to each subset. Huh? What, why, how? What is the problem of education? Why? How? This is education defined. Education is to hold in tow and to draw forth. The riddle of art. Why is it a riddle? Art means be, which is so basic. It's like that's the mystery of being, a question of existence and stuff, falls under the riddle of art. Now, besides that, it's defined as an utterance, an articulation, an account, to say. This would speak to dialect and tongue, speech and language. There's divisions. You apply what, why, how through everything. It's not that difficult. Okay, somehow it's become extremely difficult. The last point of art is to joint, to put together, to something that's together. So any two things together are an articulated connection. How are we going to do this? How do we do art and education and understanding? You do it by distinguishing each according to its nature and telling how it is. So this is what happens. Everything radiates from a central point. Everything. So look at this. Hearth, earth, art, like a pirate. Keep the home fires burning, bullseye. Hit the head of the nail. Those are huge, huge, huge. So we got, like, say, look at this. That looks like a nail head right there. Do you see that? That's a buried nail. So we'll make that the bullseye. We'll make the buried nail the point, the center, the heart, the hearth, the home, the core, the variable, all these are one and the same. I had a wild imagination, and I was undisciplined, and somehow that got me to the point of being able to make a discursive analysis of language, art, science. This is a kind of a formulation of that experience. Okay, I've got intellect here in the negative, like I'd abandoned the intellect. It took me so far, and then bang, I was like rewarded. Okay, with this concept, this conception. It was a conception. So here's another conception of this vision. Okay, it's 0, 1, binary code. Okay, I got it on this little stand here with my challenge. So I challenge you also to pull taut the webs and ropes of conception. This is my life's work refined. It belongs to all to think well. How do we do that? We don't get taught that. Well, folks, it's all Greek to me. See, I learned that thinking and that using language in extreme detail, analytically, is Greek. So we can see just from this statement alone that everything seems to be upside down and backwards. Again, like it's all Greek to me means I don't know the first thing about it. It should be, this is where it's at. So after science comes to the conclusion that they don't really know anything, we start looking at ourselves as the examiner. We start looking at the tool, the instrument of perception, right? So when we use perception to examine the world, we find X, 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 and then we go, ultimately, we got to study the myself. And that's where the Greek thinking comes in, know thyself. Okay? This is metaphysics, folks. It's pretty deep and it's detailed and it's not that hard to understand. I just can't believe we don't want to know things. You know what I mean?
What if I imagine a place in the stars where I hold my darling forever, right here in my arms.
for this segment, folks. Who can determine the point, the squeaker toy, and the clown nose will win the consolation prize? Once again, is it the point, the squeaker toy, or the clown nose? What do you say? All right, that was cool. Okay, using the principles of geometry, we do multi-dimensional thinking, folks. We think on one plane, you know, like TV. Yeah, we got a bunch of TV-headed people running around like arbiters of conformity with no notion of the temple of the mind, okay? The mind is not a joke, folks. Here's the center of the mind, okay? To get there, you got to take certain steps. It's called the inverted world or the inverted pyramid. See, the inversion means it's the interior. It's like the microcosm against the macro, except this is an interior, like our personal selves as an interior, as opposed to the exterior, okay? Now, these are the four things. These are like the axis right here. These are the axis, like you'd have interior, exterior, right? I mean, that's just how it works. The inverted world I was getting at. It's almost like thought is spelled out like this. This is not just an exercise. This is a vision of the inverted world, folks. You're getting maybe you're getting your first look at this. We can't be afraid. We've been taught to be afraid of symbols, okay? That's another huge point that I need to make. THOUGHT. It does like that, okay? That's what it does. That's the inverted world, okay? 7 levels. You don't get to the center by jumping in. You got to make it through these locks, so to speak. I don't know that much, okay? But I learned enough to be able to share.
There is a temple buried here, in the very ground of our ideas.
"13 years of notes I've been going through in the last few months. I'm going to tell you what this led up to also. Okay, so this is all mapping of the intellect, me discerning the ideal reality. You know, it turns out that ideas are just as real as, you know, what we call reality, and it turns out they're even greater than. So the greater reality is this reality of the mind. So, you know, I've discovered the eternal movements, creator and created, right? There's eternal, eterna, other down, ephemera. Here's the ephemeral, okay? And so spirit descends into the ephemeral, and then matter rises into the eternal, okay? So I hit that rarefied air, and I was just like, holy smokes, there really is an ether. The traditions that I've studied in this quest have been, this is what's kicked me off right here. This is my dad's shelf, the only dance there is. So that, like, boom, when I was about 17, 16, that got me going, okay? So here's the Tibetan Book of the Dead, here's the Bhagavad Gita, here's the Native American tradition. I did go to some sweats and stuff, and here's the Chinese, understanding the mysteries. Part of the reason I made this leap of faith was last fall, I did a pretty intensive survey through Google Scholar. Well, I discovered that the ivory tower had these canisters of compressed air that they were filling everybody's heads with. Now here's this figure. See, I'm a plumber. I'm rooting out the problems in our language so that people can understand things better. Huh? We got some plunging to do. There's some weird stuff going on, folks. Oh my God, it's a horror. I got a horror pile here. Okay? It's not big because I don't really like the horror. But it's necessary to look at this stuff. And if you can't stand looking at it, then you need to allow for other people to be able to do this instead of calling them kooky spookers or whatever it is you call people who look into things. Yep, the real world. All right, nothing up my sleeves. Blue sky shining on me. Nothing but a little bit of cloudy blue skies. These look like wet clouds. Huh? Pretty nice. There's some wispiness up there. There's synthetic, looking wisps. Of course, yeah, it's a cloud. But a cloud of what? Who's the goofy one now? Just came in from the hospital. Took a dive out there in the driveway. Collapsed. Detoxing. This has been a Rat Skulls production, bitch. All right. Well, that was quite a ride, folks. Huh? So what happened here was I made a book this year, and I was setting up this stupid little desktop theater that I was planning. So I started planning this scene, and I couldn't move forward. I just couldn't move forward with it until I rectified the past. So what we just saw and heard was work that I did in 2009-10, partly while being a homeless troll. And this work was in serious need of treatment, a lot like me. So I have almost 15 years of strict sobriety now, and I had to go back, pick up this work, and cut it together sober-mindedly. And there's a lot to talk about in this video. This image is an ovum, the chromosomes, and the moment of conception. So there's a lot of meaning behind the imagery in this video. The book is called A Nose for Truth, Making Sense of the Inverted World. So the cover took on a life of its own, and that's why it doesn't reflect the working title. There's things that happen in the book that can't happen in the video, where there's things that happen in the video that can't happen in the book. So part 1 is the new section, 67 pages written over the last 2 years. Part 2 is the evolution of my thinking from 15 years old to 40 years old. Part 3 is historical context, including notes I was taking out of Jose Ortega y Gasset, for example, back in 1992. So this is context, historians' fallacies. This is very important for thinking skills. It's called informal logic, critical thinking. And then the appendix kind of is like the notes in certain time frames. See, there was a few time periods, like 95 to 97, 2004, 2009, 2010, and this is current. And then there's an afterword. So this imagery itself was inspired by several traditions. We have the indigenous, the Native American. We have the chainmail. We have coins over the eyes, like they used to place on dead people. The clown nose. The teeth and the black makeup that resemble Mahakala. And the whole thing is inverted because I'm working with ideas which I call the inverted world. So this is the book. The cover is a different story. I made so many references in the writing to just being a clown that became honk the nose, and I just let it be what it was. You know what I mean? There was a lot of times in this book that I said, do I really need to do that? And the answer was a resounding yes.